Most of my sermons have been about 40 minutes long, and tonight will be much shorter. Shockingly shorter, perhaps, and don't get used to it. I only plan to do this once. I have one message to get across, and I want to focus on that message, and stay with me, and we will be quickly done. But my only thing I ask of you is that you take to heart what you hear tonight. In November 1785, a man by the name of Robert Burns was doing some late plowing in his field. And while plowing along, he struck a mouse's nest in the field and destroyed it. And the mouse had done months of work, doubtless, to prepare this nest in order that it might survive the winter, and now it would not survive. And Burns got down immediately and wrote a poem. His brother actually says that he wrote this poem while still holding the plow. And it's a poem called To a Mouse. It was later translated from the Scots language into English. Little, sleek, cowering, timorous beast, oh, what a panic is in your breast. You need not run away so hasty with bickering prattle. I would be loath to chase you with murdering plow handle. I'm truly sorry man's dominion has broken nature's social union and justifies that ill opinion which makes you startle at me, your poor earth-born companion and fellow mortal. I doubt not sometimes that you may thieve. What then, poor beast? You must live. An odd ear and 24 sheaves is a small request. I will get a blessing with what is left and never miss it. Your small house, too, in ruin, its feeble walls the winds are scattering, and nothing now to build a new one, of coarse green foliage, and bleak December's winds ensuing, both bitter and piercing. You saw the fields lay bare and empty, and weary winter coming fast, and cozy here beneath the blast you thought to dwell, till crash, the cruel plow blade passed out through your cell. That small heap of leaves and stubble has cost you many a weary nibble. Now you are turned out for all your trouble, without house or holding, to endure the winter's sleety dribble and hoarfrost cold. But mouse, you are not alone. Improving foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes of mice and men go oft awry, and leave us nothing but grief and pain for promised joy. Still, you are blessed compared with me. The present only touches you. But oh, I backwards cast my eye on prospects dreary. And forward, though I cannot see, I guess and fear. Burns makes the parallel between the tireless work that a mouse has done to prepare that had come to nothing, to the work that people often do with the same results. The best laid schemes of mice and men go oft awry. Even more, as humans, we obsess over the failures of the past. Still, you are blessed compared with me. The present only touches you. But oh, I backward cast my eye on prospects dreary. And more than that, we worry about the future too, how everything that we've planned for may not work out. I backward cast my eye on prospects dreary, and forward, though I cannot see, I guess and fear. I would like us to take a look from a biblical perspective on this topic. What kind of plans do we have for the future, and how will we hold up if they all go awry? If you would, turn to Luke chapter 12. Luke chapter 12. Jesus Christ had something to say about this same thing. In fact, though, of course, this is maybe what you'd consider a secular poem that Burns wrote, the Bible has a lot to say on the same topic. And we'll start here in Luke chapter 12, in verse number 13. And one of the company said unto him, Master, speak to my brother that he divide the inheritance with me. And he said unto him, Man, who made me a judge or a divider over you? And he said unto them, Take heed and beware of covetousness, For a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. Jesus said that our lives do not consist of our possessions. Life's purpose is not accumulating things. Things, including money, are simply tools. They're incidentals along the way. Now, sitting in the pew, and I know this from experience, we can hear something like this and just view it as a good Christian statement. But I want you to think about yourself. If I were to hand out a quiz right now with a few questions, how would you answer these? Think with me. Don't just look at me. Think with me. How would you answer these? What is your goal for your life in 5 years? What is your goal to have accomplished by the age of 60? I know some of you, you're past that already, but for the rest of us. And what is your goal for what your life was when you reach the end of your life? Your 5-year goal, what was it? Getting a well-paying job, maybe for some of you, or getting a home, or maybe paying off the mortgage, or perhaps to get to a certain target in the retirement fund. But your life could end in 5 years. It could end before. Those things that are just mentioned are all fine goals, but they should not be your life goals. Your life does not consist of the things you possess. Were the last 5 years of your life successful? If you lived to 100, those 5 years were 5% of your life. If you lived to 70, those years were over 7% of your whole life. If Jesus comes back in 10 years, those 5 years just passed were, from that point, 33% of the remainder of your life. Now, a mouse has nothing to live for but itself. A mouse will seek its own good, perhaps the good of its young. If the plow destroys its winter home, it's all over. It has no greater purpose. But you, if your purpose is a house, what if there's foreclosure? If your purpose is retirement, what if there's financial collapse? What if there's sudden disability? If your purpose is prestige, what if there's a damaged reputation? If your purpose is raising a family, what if there's sudden loss? Now, Jesus continued to speak here in Luke 12. We'll pick it up now in verse 16. And he spake a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruits? And he said, This will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater. And there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, Thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. I want you to consider something that might be painful to realize. I want you to open your mind to something that nobody wants to think. Is it possible, even if you have a good nest egg, a beautiful home, even if you have a well-paying job, is it possible that your life to this point has actually been a failure? If you died tonight, what more has your life been to the world than the life of any unsaved person? Now, maybe this isn't you, but maybe it is. We must not be thinking of others, as in they are the ones that need fixing. We must think of ourselves. And there are many things in the world that perhaps you've avoided that some people live their lives for. You may think, I'm different. I don't live my life for getting drunk on the weekends. I don't live my life for sex or for social media fame or applause. But a successful career, a large 401k, these are the acceptable, unscriptural life goals that Christians often have. Now, maybe you never set that as your goal, but has it been the focus of your hours, of your days, and your weeks? You set a goal by your actions. even if you've never said what you're living for. Take a look at verse 30 again. But God said unto him, Thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? In light of that, here's how I believe that Jesus would have us live our lives. Live each day purposefully so that whenever you die, your life is deemed successful by God in light of the time he gave you. Live each day purposefully so that whenever you die, your life is deemed successful by God in light of the time he gave you. And we've seen even recently that that time may be shorter than any one of us might expect. Let's examine ourselves right now in just a few of the areas that we've been instructed biblically on how to live. Romans chapter 12, 10 through 13 says, Be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love, in honor preferring one another, not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer, distributing to the necessity of saints, given to hospitality. Now we could talk about any number of the things listed there. But if your life ended tonight, would it be successful in the context of how you were hospitable, how you gave to the needs of other Christians? You might say, oh, I'll give a lot once I have more disposable income. Maybe you'll never have it. Once the car is paid off, if I get a big tax return. No, you don't wait until it's convenient to obey God. You either live your life in obedience to God or you don't. James 1:27 says, Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. If your life ended tonight, would it be successful in the context of how you visited the fatherless and the widow? Do you look out for people who are worse off than you? And do you befriend those who have lost their closest friends? Hebrews 13:5 says, Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have, for he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. If your life ended tonight, would it be successful in the context of being contented with what you have? Matthew 5:16 says, Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. If your life ended tonight, would it be successful in the context of being intentionally a good testimony for Christ? Do you look like a Christian to the world? Think hard about it. The unsaved people around you, are they drawn to Christ because of you? I must consider my life. You must consider yours. You. That's who's going to be accounting for themselves on Judgment Day. Do people see your good works? Or are you waiting on that good works thing while you focus on the career and the lawn and the video games and the personal fitness goal and the self-run business? All of those things can have an appropriate place, but they cannot be our life goals. 2 Peter 3:18 says, But grow in grace and in the knowledge of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. To him be glory both now and forever. Amen. If your life ended tonight, would it be successful in the context of being constantly growing in the knowledge of Christ? Now, what's the biggest reason that people don't obey now? Here's the thought. I will obey. I'm planning to obey later. If I do it now, I'll be less able to do it later. If I have $5,000 and I give $1,000 to the church, I'll make less interest on the $5,000. So I'll give nothing now, but I'll give it later when I have more interest. And then I can give more. The Bible does not tell us to delay our obedience to maximize our potential. We do not know what a day may bring forth. At a church that my dad was once the pastor of, there was a woman at the church who had a beautiful piece of riverfront property, and our church was in disrepair, and she planned to give the church that property for a new building. Within a few months of my dad being the pastor there, this lady died. She had no will, And the property was sold by her family, and today there is a beautiful business park there. Future plans of giving are not giving. You may say, I may do more evangelism once the weather's better. I'll do it when the kids are a bit older. I'll do it someday when I'm more trained. You know what the Bible calls that? Disobedience. Disobedience. But mouse, you are not alone in proving foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes of mice and men go oft awry, and leave us nothing but grief and pain for promised joy. We need to decide which plan we're going to follow. Is it our own best laid scheme, or the way that God tells us to go? Psalm 18:30 says, as for God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is tried. He is a buckler to all those that trust in him. You may think, well, my best laid scheme is what the financial advisor told me. I need to meet the target contribution so I have a comfortable retirement. You know who doesn't have a comfortable retirement? The poor of this world, most of whom worldwide have no ability to lift themselves out of their poverty. Proverbs 29:7 says, the righteous considereth the cause of the poor, but the wicked regardeth not to know it. Proverbs 19:17 says, he that hath pity upon the poor lendeth unto the Lord, and that which he hath given him will he pay him again. So when it comes to real world situations, are we willing to be people of the book? Sometimes the Bible is a bit inconvenient, but are we ready to follow it anyway? Still you are blessed compared with me. The present only touches you. But oh, I backward cast my eye on prospects dreary. And forward, though I cannot see, I guess and fear. As best we know, a mouse has no regrets. The mouse has instinct and seeks self-preservation. But humans, we have regrets. You probably have some. You backwards cast your eye on prospects dreary. You know what I've never regretted? I've never regretted when I went door to door. I've never regretted handing a tract. I've never regretted giving money to someone who needed it. I've never regretted when I have chosen to follow the Bible over my best laid plans. And to be clear, I have regrets. But following Jesus has never been one of them. Matthew 6:19-20 says, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. Don't let your happiness, self-worth, and view of the success of your life be tied to the outcomes of temporal plans. Yes to planning, but no to banking on the future. The future is uncertain. In James chapter 4 it says, go to now, ye that say, today or tomorrow we will go into such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain, whereas you know not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away. For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that. But now ye rejoiced in your boastings, all such rejoicing is evil. Therefore to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. Now everything we say about the future should have an implied condition, if the Lord will. And beware laying schemes without the plan that God may choose to interrupt them. I actually read yesterday online on social media, just a secular person made this interesting post. He said, this family trip to Chicago could have been worth $11,532 in 30 years if we invested the money instead. But I don't want to maximize my wealth. I want to maximize my life. So he chose to go on the family vacation. And we can take that from the very same spiritual perspective. We may often think, oh, but if I do this, I'll maximize some future gain that we may not live to see or that may have no eternal impact. We have but one life to live for Christ, and that is what we ought to maximize from the biblical perspective. So how about you? The best laid schemes of mice and men may go awry. Are you going to live like most of humanity lives? Guessing and fearing? Or will you commit to live each day purposefully so that whenever you die, your life is deemed successful by God in light of the time that he gave you?